Okay, guys, we're going to pick right off where we left off with the last video talking about the storming of the Bastille. Like I said, all these common people getting together to go to this prison and take it over. That was significant, with this prison being a, former symbol of royal power. But like I said, it was kind of just that beginning point. It was the first domino, and there was a lot more dominoes to fall right after that. Go to the next slide, Will. There we go. All right, we looked at the last video, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, and you guys, read that in your essay as well to compare it to the American Declaration of Independence. So that was that solidifying founding document that it was like the springboard. It's like every action after this in the French Revolution came out of the ideas in this document. And now in 1790, you have the Civil Constitution of the Clergy, which basically this creates a separation of church and state in France. And this was huge because, as you guys remember, with Louis XIV being a staunch Catholic, and in the first in-person lesson I taught you guys, the French Wars of Religion, church and state in France had been very, very closely intertwined. And that was a way that the church was a way that the French government and the French monarchy had controlled the population. And so the fact that there's this separation now, and the clergy is being controlled by government officials, it's kind of, not government officials, but people elected to control them to make sure they don't, feed in the interest of the government. This is, a big deal. And in 1791, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette start to sense, the uprising that is about to happen. And you have the flight of the royal family to Versailles. And basically, they're trying to start a counter-revolution, and they get caught, and they have to run away. And, this is when the French people really start to get worried. It's like, he's literally trying to form an army to rise up against us. And as a result of this, the National Assembly becomes the Legislative Assembly, and France becomes a constitutional monarchy. So Louis XVI kind of concedes some power just to stay alive a little bit longer. And he will not be so lucky to stay alive. We'll see that in the next slide. But September 1792, this is where the French Republic is proclaimed. And here is a little monument depicting that. And this is a significant day for France, but this is also where the revolution goes from being mainly bloodless to becoming very, very radical. As Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette are put on trial for treason, going against the interests of the French people, and they are executed in 1793 with this lovely, nifty little contraption called the guillotine. And basically the guillotine was you put somebody in this little headlock right here, and then you have this blade that's elevated way up here. You pull the latch, and boom, the blade goes down. Bing, bang, boom, your head comes chopped off all nice and neat. Makes killing a lot easier and cleaner, but the problem with this is that it also leads to things such as the Reign of Terror, where you're literally killing thousands of people per day. And you had this committee, after the execution of the king and queen, you had this committee of public safety formed with Maximilien Robespierre as the leader, which he was a big figure during the French Revolution. But he was a very, very radical person. Him and his constituents wanted to get rid of the nobility for the way they had oppressed the Third Estate for so long. And this leads to the Reign of Terror in 1793 and 94. And this Reign of Terror, thousands of people are dying during the days and the weeks. It is so bad at one point there was literally blood flowing through the streets of Paris. And the revolution is so radical and so out of control that in 1795, Robespierre himself is executed and the Directory is formed. And the Directory was a lot different than the Committee of Public Safety. It had like 5 leaders and then some, people ruling over certain areas. It was different, but it was a replacement for the Committee of Public Safety, which, was anything but a Committee of Public Safety. They thought they were doing something good for the committee, the community and the committee, but it was actually a lot of violence, that had been built up and inspired by all this resentment from the Third Estate with all the privileges that the First and Second Estate had for so long. So this is the basic highlight of the French Revolution. This is the main course, and the French Revolution is so much more in depth and so much more than this, but these are just the key points. Mr. Taylor will go over this more with you guys in depth, and just hang on. We have one more video. We're going to look at the effects of both the French Revolution and the American Revolution, and we will wrap this up for you guys.